Well guys, I'm out here spraying corn. I just tried to make a video of loading the sprayer, so hopefully that turns out. Got some Canadian thistles right there, but they're already sprayed. They should be dying here shortly. Sprayed them when I sprayed the border. The border of this field is already done, so I'm just driving back and forth right now. As you can see, I got my auto steer, my GPS in here, but I'm not using the auto steer because my sprayer, the steering's too loose to spray down the rows. So I just go ahead and drive when I'm spraying corn, and like right here there's a whoop-de-whoop for whatever reason. We just keep on the rows and go. But I just thought I'd kind of make a short video of spraying and talk a little bit about what I use in my spray to help my products perform better. One thing you guys need to get good at and whatnot is get good at reading the labels yourself and understanding the labels. I've caught things on the label as far as certain things you cannot mix together, or certain conditions you do not want to spray in, and most of that information is on the label. So that's the number one thing. All the chemicals you spray, you want to read the label, understand the label, and do as the label says. Couple other things: most chemicals, Roundup, Liberty, I believe, and there's also a few others, I can't name them off the top of my head, they call for AMS or some form of nitrogen, and that form of nitrogen can be liquid nitrogen, 28% in certain cases. Other cases it cannot, so read the label on that. The AMS, ammonia sulfate, helps open the pores on the plant and allows for the uptake of the chemicals. There is a few products that replace AMS with a liquid, and I don't like them. I don't think anything can 100% replace AMS or nitrogen fertilizer. I understand not everyone wants to or has the ability to lift the 51-pound bags that the AMS comes in, and the jugs may be more convenient. And on the jugs, if you do use a jug product, I would recommend using a stronger rate than what is the minimum. I'd use more towards the top end of the rate. Anyhow, so we got that. Another thing today we're using a drift retarding agent, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. It's only an ounce per 100 or 2 ounces per 100 depending on the chemicals you are using. It's kind of you pick your poison, how much you want to put in. Just start low and go higher. And I do use that pretty regularly. It's fairly cheap, and I also use this very regularly every time I come spray. Actually, it's a wind meter, temperature meter, wind meter. Bought it from Shoot Manufacturing. That way, if anyone's complaining that I'm spraying when it's too windy, I've got that in my cab. I know what the wind is and where I feel comfortable spraying at. So we use that. I think best time to go spraying is when the wind's blowing between 3 and 15 mile an hour. 3 and 10 would be perfect, but I feel pretty comfortable spraying up to 15 depending on the bordering field and the chemical I am spraying. I would rather go out at 15 mile an hour winds than spray when it's calm out. And my reason for that is when it's calm out, you don't know which direction that chemical is going to go when the wind does come up. It may go straight up, it may move to the east, it may move to the west. You do not know. But today the wind is blowing this direction, so it'd be towards the southeast. And with the wind blowing towards the southeast, I know I'm not going to hurt anything of anyone else's over there. I've got a cornfield, I've got my rye field, and a soybean field across the road, and I'm not worried about that at all because it's enough to the south that I'm not worried about that. When I was along my alfalfa, I did drive a little slower to help eliminate some of the fines that may have been moving, but I still don't think I would have hurt it even if I went this pace. You can see I'm running, that's my system pressure, which is about 56 pounds, 58 pounds or so. And then there's my boom pressure. I'm running right about 38 pounds of boom pressure. And when I went along the border there, along my alfalfa, my new seeding alfalfa, I had a pressure of about 20, which is lower than what I really want to spray at for coverage wise, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't drift. So my next ingredient that I like to use and keep on hand with me is I really like to keep foam, anti-foam on hand in the cab of the sprayer with me. That way if I run into problems and for whatever reason the chemical starts foaming up in the tank and I can't get it empty, it doesn't cause issues there. I run it almost all the time. Obviously there are some chemicals that don't foam at all, but most chemicals have some foam, so I always just add a little bit to it. It's very cheap and it helps you keep all the residues from building up in your tank on your sprayer. And anyhow, so that's another thing I like to use on as far as that goes. What else is there to talk about spraying? I'm gonna think a little bit, and I'm gonna come back here in a little bit and I'll kind of show you. Oh, I guess as far as how fast I'm going about 12 mile an hour, 12.4, spraying 120 to 130 acres an hour. That's without filling though, so it takes me about a half an hour to fill. So we get roughly about 75 acres done an hour if everything goes as planned. But not everything goes as planned. Got mud holes I got to deal with. Looks like in the next pass I'll have a mud hole I got to go around. Wet spots that I got to be concerned about. I'm really concerned on, oh my goodness, there's water. Shut the sprayer off as we go through the water. Don't want to contaminate any water on the ground. That's another thing we got to do, is we've got to be careful where we're spraying with it. This wet, we don't want to be spraying over top of water. But anyhow, I guess that's kind of what we got going on. I guess you guys got any questions, I guess feel free to ask them below and I'll try to answer them. I guess if you don't like the glasses because it's shaky, don't watch the video. These are the most convenient way for me to do filming, and if I don't use these I probably won't film much because I need both hands for most of the things I do. So anyhow guys, got any questions, please ask them, and in other words, we'll see you guys on the flip side.